All right, ladies and gents, welcome to a play all three between two killers in Group B. And today, I know for people later on YouTube, this may be tomorrow or later this evening or something, but at least the next three sets, let's just say, are all dedicated to this group, Group B. We have Villese who's in the blue, who comes in. He's leading the group right now with 5 wins. Dogao and ACCM are right below him, though, with 4 wins. So a lot will be known after this, especially because Dogao did play against ACCM already and lost 2-1. If you really want the group to be tight at the top, you might want to root for a Dogao 2-1 victory here. And then a Villese ACCM victory would be, or matchup later, would be interesting. But no, I do think Villese is the favorite. I think he's played cleaner Age of Empires 2. Dogao, though, just such a consistent name, and he's always going to have a chance in every single game. And Dogao's gone for the Magyars here on Graveyards, which is our neutral map, a map that both players eventually banned a bunch of maps down to. This is the last map remaining. That's how Game 1 always works. The map is very open. Map is going to be very hard to lock down. That said, Miguel's definitely got, or not Miguel, sorry, wrong Brazilian. We'll talk about Miguel more later in the day. Dogao's definitely maybe got like 1 or 2 little wood nuggets, fewer than or less than Villese here. I feel like if this was a wood nugget, all is fair in terms of the wood, but I'm just noticing teensy little wood nuggets all around here scattered for Villese. So what's interesting is this is very Land Madness-esque, like tiny wood lines, gold and stone spread throughout the map, very expansive type of map. And then Dogao's home map is Land Madness. Now, Land Madness has, you can't wall on these little stone terrain that we'll see there. This one actually has that wall potential. Again, the expectation here is scouts for the Magyars. So it's the #1 pick for Dogao, so he's drafted pretty heavy for this. And I think Villese will be happy to do the same. And you know, the Malians are just better economically here, guys. They've got a bit of a gold boost when they're collecting gold. All the buildings they build that cost wood are discounted. So, you know, if we're thinking about playing towards late game, you have that. And then you also have the camels as an option for the Magyar Knights. You don't think about the Magyars and really think about their economic strengths. You don't really think about much beyond their scouts into knights. But they do have the potential for cav archers, which I think could be pretty good in this matchup. Cav archers are always a bit trickier, though, on maps where you cannot wall. Having the time to mass those cav archers can sometimes be complicated. So yeah, I think both picks are fantastic. The difference between them is you're going to see Villese aim to wall up a little bit more, because Villese doesn't have the cheaper scouts and doesn't have forging. Yeah, we'll see how things develop from there. Villese's home map is the wall. I'm really excited for that game, because Villese has always been a really solid arena player, but I haven't felt as though Zawal actually plays out similar to normal arena at all. Right? Like, Villese is the type of guy who on arena would go light cav for map control and just boom on 3 or 4 TCs. And that is not happening on Zawal right now. We're seeing a lot of like 1 TC all-in plays. So the fact that he picked Zawal, I think that's kind of good because of his history on arena. And Dogao is certainly not someone who's known for being good on arena. But I think it will actually be somewhat away from both players' playstyles. So, again, to play all 3, every game counts towards their standings. So even if someone ends up having a bad day here today, important that they still somehow snag a win. Dogao's going to click up. Les is going to click up as well. Little bit of TC idle time, but he's okay. And Dogao's just been pushing in all the deer here. Like, I feel like in this matchup, they both know what to expect. And the Malians always do have some type of potential threat with the little pre-mill drush, but the play these days, the meta right now, is players do not like to go for the little militia plays in most cases. On these types of really open maps, they just prefer to just push in their res, get as much food as possible before starting the real battles, the scout battles. Gold's on the back, good to work with there for Dogao. Won't need the stone for a while. Obviously, there's plenty of stone around. Gold's in the back here as well for Villese. He does have the stone on the back, but again, I don't see any real reason to utilize that early. A few more little wood nuggets for Villese to work with. So Villese may be tempted to wall. Villese moving forward right now to head over towards Dogao. And Dogao coming over looking for Villese, which he will find. He will see the barracks. In case there's any worry that maybe there could be some early militia shenanigans, if he did spot that going up right before it completed, he should know. And Dogao hits feudal. Villese hits feudal. Villese attacks Dogao temporarily. Dogao making a staple there. And again, no surprise here. We're going to see scouts. Dogao's actually looking for Villese's scout right now, hoping to get some hits on it because his scout is stronger. Yeah, I could see camels being an option, right? I think, like, if you're just relying on camels and booming against Magyars, the Magyars do have the potential, though, to go into Pikeman Knight. So I could see that combination being pretty realistic for Dogao. And getting the attack upgrades on your melee units is super nice. Like, if the bonus was, instead of getting free forging and free iron casting, which applies to infantry and cavalry, if it was just, like, +1 attack on your cav line per age, I feel like it would be much worse for the Magyars than it is currently. This is Villese. He wants to wall up, and Dogao's definitely got a window here, but Villese's going to move forward. This is such a Villese thing to do. He's like, okay, your scouts are stronger. I'm just going to make a crap ton of spears, and I'm going to go forward here. And this is such a difficult thing to deal with in these cases, and wow, really well played from Dogao, because he realized that in the last second. That could have led to a villager dying. And then you also still have to have it in your mind to move forward. It's so difficult because you want to focus at home now, but you have to make sure that you kind of punish Villese for bringing spears forward instead of keeping them at home. And I think with Magyar scouts, we might see Dogao consider engaging there, but you know, he's just seeing walls. There's a hole, though, and this is a rough start to the series for Villese. That should be a deadville. It should definitely be a dead villager. That's exactly what Dogao could want. And if he doesn't want to get trapped in there, he could leave. Now at home, Dogao has his own spearman. Kills the scout there from Villese. So Dogao with a little bit of good fortune there. And this is what happens when you try and wall a ton, right? Like, obviously, players are very good at it these days. But there was some offensive focus there from Villese. Wasn't able to get the job done. And now Dogao realizes I probably won't have too many other opportunities. Kills another villager there. So really nice start to feudal age here for Dogao. Because of the amount of spearmen that Villese made, and, you know, the eco upgrades and whatnot, he wasn't ever really counting on making many scouts at all. Because he made one scout, and then he lost one. And now, of course, this is all blocked off. But you know, this is not a threat, is my point. And now Villese is getting brought into the TC fire. This is honestly the dream start for Dogao here in this series. Our stats said that Villese had a 60% chance to get first. But to me, again, there's a lot of things that factors in. That factors in the potential tie breaks. And there's Villese. Doesn't get the kill. Wow. So close there. Dogao even blocking with the bill. But anyways, like, there's a lot of factors that go into the stat sheet that we look at. But I feel as though, you know, having only seen 2 rounds and Dogao being 1 game down, that Dogao wins today 2-1. And then suddenly, you know, maybe Dogao's got slightly better odds than Villese. So he could jump up pretty massively. And I like the start so far for Dogao. That does not mean Villese's finished, but it's been 6 kills for Dogao. It has been 1 death. And he has played really clean here, guys. The crispness of Dogao's play wasn't really there, in my opinion. In the first round especially, Miguel was definitely coming in worse than him in terms of form, though. And then, you know, against ACCM, good overall series, but I just didn't see this like crazy speed killer instinct from Dogao. Normally would associate Villese with a little bit more crispness and speed these days, but Dogao really in a nice spot. His resources are looking good. And in all honesty, the Cav Archer switch seems perfect now. Because you'll be up to Castle Age faster. You have no worry. I also love how he knows his opponent's not going for a range. He's checking. You don't have to worry about any early crossbowmen. So you get the walls down here if you're Dogao. It's a bit interesting. I'm not sure why there's a hole there. You should be able to wall that. Okay, sorry. I had like a little worry. I don't want there to be any bugs, you know? So I'm like, oh no, what has happened? And finally, the scout inside goes down. There's the range now for Villese. Villese also scouting around a little bit. But yeah, Dogao clicks up. Now, if you want to be, if you want to go for Cav Archers, ideally you hide that switch. But I think most importantly, you have to make sure that you have your walls down so you don't have anything disrupting you before you get there. Oh, there must have been a weak villager there. And Villese tried to kill it, and Dogao reacted. And Dogao's just going to... He's like, I don't even care if you know. I'm just going to drop these ranges on the front of my base now. Dang. A little more crispness and speed. Crispness! Crispness, boobo! The spear's heading forward for Villese. So, if you're going for crossbowmen, usually, guys, you want to have had that range up a little bit earlier. But due to the harassment, it wasn't something Villese was really able to focus on. So, the double range play, it's not going to have as much of an effect because there won't be 8 to 10, 12 crossbowmen in early castle age. It'll maybe be... Actually, it might be around 8. But with the opponent being up faster, and also Magyar's now creating Cav Archers a little bit faster, 25% bonus, a really clean position for Dogao to be in. And I think he set up his base, his eco really nicely as well. The only thing I'd say is now you definitely need to be snagging Horse Collar. No Horse Collar in Feudal Age is fine, but for future farms, you should definitely have Horse Collar in. He won't actually need that much food income in the long run, if you think about it, because he'll just need wood and gold for the Cav Archer switch. A switch that Villese will see. So Villese is going to have his work cut out for him here. And I think he realizes my window's now closed. I have to play defensive with this. And I think he should just continue in towards crossbowmen. He's already got a lot of wood and gold. Trying to switch into even skirmishers now could lead to a lot of gold floating. Dogao is going to get the kill there. And this is just Dogao in the dream spot right now. Second TC on the other side of this wood line. It is a tiny wood line. It's not great. Maybe got to head over to try and TC another wood line now. And Cav Archers are going to see the archers. And there was a slight misclick there for Dogao, who's really committing towards the eco side of things. So I thought he was going to get to like 6 to 8 Cav Archers right away. But he's actually stopped production of Cav Archers. He's opted instead to go for relics early and for the town centers. Obviously, there's nothing really wrong with necessarily going for the town centers, right? It's just how he's chosen to spend his wood. And he's going for the eco. And now he needs to play damage control here because the crossbows are here. And normally 9 crossbows shouldn't accomplish that much. But right now, they could accomplish quite a bit. This TC needs to complete here for Dogao quickly. And he needs to get away with that monk. I think you actually had to hold the monk over here. And Dogao's currently trying to distract. But that's sloppy. That's the first Cav Archer down. We'll see if Dogao can manage now that he's given Villese a little bit of control. This is, again, very sloppy. Oh, my God. Oh, geez. This is what I was talking about. Dogao. You got to keep that Cav Archer mass up. And potentially a misclick. Now we've got villagers going down. And this has gone from the perfect start to disastrous situation here for Dogao. I have a feeling that Villese is just going to take this opportunity and run with it. Like, I mean, credit to Villese, obviously, for moving forward. But what is happening? What is happening, man? Dogao just completely is falling apart. And it's why, a lot of players need to maintain control, right? You opt for the town centers, and players are going to punish you if you don't have army on top of that. What was that, 5 Cav Archers down? And the Cav Archers are faster and everything. Like, they don't need to be anywhere near this. So some misclicks from Dogao as I think he's trying to manage things. And I mentioned before, no horse collar, right? So these farms will expire pretty quickly. And I feel like there's going to be some big economic imbalances for Dogao if he doesn't have a moment to breathe here. Now, he's up to 10 Cav Archers. There's 17 crossbows, though. And there's going to be crossbows moving in from Villese here. So Villese's got 2 groups. But Villese is distracted with the other group. Now he's going to lose this group. And Dogao needs to react here, though, as it's camels and crossbows for Villese. Finally, the Cav Archer numbers start to pay off a little bit for the Brazilian. He still has a villager lead. And here he aims to use monks against the crossbow. And, well, he doesn't convert the crossbows, but he hops inside the TC. Well played, Dogao. And now I'm starting to like his position again. He's got 2 relics. He still has his monks alive. And he's been on 3 town centers here. Now, behind this, we've got 3 TCs for Villese. Just 1 minute of TC idle time from him. His eco upgrades are looking amazing. And I think we'll even see ballistics here in a second. I think Dogao will not want to advance up the hill here. Just giving the crossbows more potential for damage. But there might also be a temptation because the cav archers are, in general, a bit of a stronger unit, a tankier unit, and the crossbow number's not that high. Dogao, again, you can tell he's macroing and he's doing other things here. These are just moments where he's struggling with the multitasking. It may have been this moment right here, where he's tasked to convert a camel and he gets the conversion. He's really had a heavy focus on scouting and the relics. He's getting that relic too, so it's all those little things combined with adding farms. The cav archers missing their shots due to no ballistics. And Villese has a civ that university works way faster, so ballistics is on the way now. So Dogao is planning it for a defensive castle and then just taking this to imp from here. And if they both continue with ranged units, it's all Magyars in the long run. But the crossbowmen have a crazy potential for damage now that ballistics is in. And you might even need to consider siege right now if you're Dogao. Now you can run away from the crossbowmen, or in this case, run towards the crossbowmen. And great job from him there. Wondering if he's going to have a university. No, he's going to go for a siege workshop. And I don't know who's building the siege workshop. They're headed out now. But Dogao must have realized something. At least recognizing the crossbow mass is starting to be a bit of a problem. Really wants this relic. That's never going to happen. Sorry, dude. That old man gets shot down. But at least Dogao, you know, is going to head over to Villese's base for the first time in a while. He's also got a group over here. And Scout's still camping that relic, and that has been the focus for Dogao. Just thinking late game. 4 relics now for him. And God, it would make me so happy if he were to click horse color here. It's just so much. He needs the wood, right? For the siege, for the upgrades, for the cav archers. It's just wasted wood at this point. But you get into this rhythm, which is reseeding and adding farms, and you sometimes forget about it. I think we also saw, yeah, the 3rd range now for Dogao. So no university yet. The Scorpions in combinations with the Cav Archers could be really good. And here he goes, using the mobility. Villese wants to camp the hill. Doesn't exactly want to leave that hill right now. So he has to defend. And holy houses right now for Villese. He's going to get the houses down. He will take losses, though. Little awkward for him. But it's an interesting decision to not want to leave that hill. We'll see. I mean, Dogao's punishing him for it right now. And then Dogao ran up the hill and saw the crossbowmen were there. Just one Scorpion isn't going to accomplish that much on its own, especially going up the hill. Villese was able to kill that monk. But these Cav Archers still need to be dealt with, and it's 27 Cav Archers right now for Dogao. It's just 25 crossbowmen for Villese. And the Vil count still even. Army count even. Total population very close here. This could go either way. It does feel like with the Cav Archers and the Scorpions, though, that Villese can't really push anymore. Here, though, he's taking good engagements. I'm not sure what that monk's doing there, but that monk's dead, and Dogao's going to branch out now. And will this go late? And will there be castles soon? Dogao's going to drop a castle there. I think that's ultimately what both players wanted to fight for, is this position, because it's right directly between the bases. There's stones and golds everywhere. And Dogao should be able to complete the castle here. Ballistics is coming in for him. He's clicked Wheelbarrow now. An upgrade that Villese has had for a bit. It's not that big a deal to be late with Wheelbarrow when you only have 20 farms. And Villese clicks up to Imp. Man, it is crazy to me how Villese has macroed so well despite everything that's happened here. Like, if I get the crossbow numbers out and I get the ballistics in and I'm pressuring like that, I can't Imp faster than my opponent, who's been faster than me to the town centers. It's really impressive. Still think the lack of position could be a big concern here, right? I think giving up this hill is really going to hurt. And Dogao is going to be able to get ballistics, and Dogao could get recurve bow out of that castle too, which is amazing for the Magyar CA. And Dogao, who had a great start to Feudal Age, now just wants to advance in with the gold because he's got the Scorpions here as well. And Villese having to back away now. Hasn't lost a lot of eco this game. He's only lost 9 eco, but Still impressive play from Dogao to be on Villese all the time. Here, this is a fight that ends up being better for Dogao than it could have been, I guess, because there was no movement from his opponent. Also looks like a wolf maybe got a kill there. But Dogao is up. So recurve bow adds +1 attack and adds +1 range to the cav archers. And this is against Malians that lack bracer, which is attack and range. So Malians lack bracer, which is horrible for them here going in towards range units. They normally would want to go for infantry or cav. And then your opponent has bracer and recurve bow and its cav archers. So, you know, the army is just so much stronger for Dogao right now. And I just feel like it's going to take Villese quite a bit of time to be able... Oh my god, big shots. I feel like it's going to take him quite a bit of time to really be able to benefit from the Imperial Age here. Like, he can get chemistry pretty quickly, but he doesn't have as many relics as Dogao. He's adding the stables now, which is understandable, but that he's just now gotten the Feudal Age armor, right? So it's not like he's really going to have an instant attack with Imp, which should give Dogao time. Dogao's cav archers over here, finding more kills as Villese was looking to expand to other stones and golds. We came into this group at the start of TTL Season 3 saying it's going to be Villese, Dogao, and ACCM as 1, 2, and 3. Who ends up getting the #1 spot? Who goes to playoffs between these three legendary names? And right now, Dogao, even though he's being wasteful here, I think he's over. He's actually been more wasteful than he's needed to be at times throughout this game. But, you know, Dogao's really looking like he's in a good spot. Look at Villese now. He's like, my win condition is this hill. I need to castle that. And obviously, he finds out there's already a castle there. And look at Dogao. Dogao's probably going to build his next castle on this hill. I think that would make a lot of sense. Look at his awareness. Look at his vision, guys. Look at how bold he is to try and get even the 7th relic. Bracer's now on the way. Little crossbow mango push over here will do decent damage against Dogao's economy. And Dogao's just going to back away, though. He's not too worried about this army. This is still just a Castle Age army. And Bracer isn't in just yet, but now it is. And, of course, he got ballistics over the last few moments. So, yeah, these cav archers are insane to deal with now. And there's 40 of them. So, honestly, okay, as the game ends, I was going to say, I don't see a way back for Villese. And I'm going to assume that he probably resigned and called the GG after. So, it's not showing here for us. But, man, Dogao played really strong this game. He did a great job at defending. There was that one little moment on the berries in Feudal Age where Villese could have easily surprised him. And he defended from that while simultaneously moving out, killed 2 villagers because Villese wasn't completely walled yet. And part of his strategy was to wall on a very open map. The Feudal Age defense was clean. The cav archers were enough to get the job done. And Magyar is the #1 pick for Dogao. Gives him his first win. Well played, Dogao. Again, really he looked much better here than I think he did against ACCM. So there's some potential moments where I think Villese could punish going forward on his home maps. It's just not quite as crisp in like the really crucial early age moments for Dogao. Like early Castle Age was a little rough. 97 kills, 57 deaths for the legend from Brazil. 34k resources brought in, more wood, more gold, more stone. Obviously did lack the food, but he wasn't creating food units and was still able to have enough food to do everything else with his upgrades. Pretty clean first game. All right. So I had big questions on what this game was going to provide, and we see civs that we've not seen a lot on Zawal, and all of gold or all of platinum here for game 2. So Villese lost the first game in this series. In terms of live standings now, both Villese and Dogao are at the top of Group B with 5 wins. So it's pretty close between these two at the moment. And Villese picked Zawal, the map with the neutral wall through the middle. This is not a map that belongs to anyone, so the players do not have any vision on it. And it has produced a lot of all-in type games where you have forward castles and busting through the wall and lots of aggression. There's lots of stone and gold that are on the front for both players behind the wall as well as the relics. So, big reason to be there. But, so I know Villese is a really clean player with adding eco. He's always been really good on arena, even though he's not really seen as an arena player. what I'd stated was I just a little surprised he picked the wall only because this is a map where we've seen a lot of all-in plays. So a lot of like 1TC type style, and that's not necessarily what I see as Villese's strength. Yeah, I should mention though that both Teutons and Britons both known for their eco and not necessarily their YOLO all-in plays. So, Dogao's picked the Britons. I think the Britons is an excellent pick here. Very cheap town centers and very strong archers. And like the range on those archers can be really good against a lot of things, including monks, if we were to see a lot of monk shenanigans. That's another thing I wouldn't necessarily associate with Villese, is lots of monks. It's normally eco. So we've not seen Portuguese, Bohemians, Burgundians. What other civs have been picked a lot? Aztecs we didn't see picked. To be fair, it could have been banned. I forget what the bans were. Actually, let me look at the draft. We have time, right? Let me just take a quick look. Was there an Aztecs pick for Dogao? Okay, Villese had Turks, as well as Teutons and Poles. Dogao had Mongols, Bengalis, and Britons, maybe as his real options. Aztecs, Portuguese, and Bohemians in the red there on the ban list, though. That was all centered around this map. So that does explain why those civs aren't here. Do all civs get siege towers? All civs do get siege towers, but I don't think siege towering is really a good idea here. Because then your units are trapped and they can never come back. The wall is actually very weak. So it's 1,000 HP. Normal arena would be 1,000 HP in feudal. And then in Castle Age, it goes up to 1,800 HP. So it takes a bit more to take down a Castle Age wall. But that never changes here. So it's pretty easy to take down this wall with one ram. And then being able to run through the wall back and forth all the time with everything is so much more convenient. Now, there was a game in Gold where we saw a siege tower. And if you didn't see it, I'll try and paint the picture, okay? So the red player had broken through the wall and had a bunch of monks, right? So he's like, he breaks through the wall, he's got a bunch of monks and units, and he's pushing. But then he realizes his opponent is going to maybe come in with a bunch of eagles, okay? So what the red player did is he gates this off. So it's no longer possible for the opponent to pass through. And he's sitting back here feeling like a god because he's like, I'm safe now. I can pass through and they can't. So he falls back. Then the eagles get siege towered over here and they just swoop in and kill all the monks from behind. That was a really cool maneuver. But that was, I think... No, there were 2 times where we saw siege towers, actually. There was a really cool instance with the siege tower, I think with a game that featured Slam in Gold. But every time I saw the siege tower player actually lost. Sad times for siege tower fans. I don't think it was necessarily the reason they lost, so... What do you think about going Cumans and pushing in Feudal Age with a ram? So the issue I have with going with the ram with Cumans is it just slows down the second TC, which they could win with anyways. Like the second TC is so strong that if you're spending wood on the blacksmith, which you have to build before the siege workshop, that's 150 wood. Then the siege workshop, 200 wood. Then the ram, which is what, 150 wood, 160 wood? All that wood could be TCs and farms. So it feels like you just kind of delay your best win condition, which is what I don't like about it. The other thing is, if it's ram and full army, then that could be really fun because that could surprise the opponent. But if you're just going to ram and also build the second TC, you're then opening this area for the enemy that's going to eventually have a target of killing you because you're on 2 town centers. And you can't re-stonewall it because you're Cumans. They don't have stonewalls. So there's some vulnerabilities to the idea. I'm not trying to, just swat away everyone's ideas here. But I'm just explaining why I feel, at least with Cumans, it would probably just be best and safest to just go for something that you know is going to give you a lead, which is the second town center. Okay? It's too risky when you have a safe option of TCs? Yeah. But, I mean... I'd like to see it. Like, I feel like at mid to low ranks, it could be really good. I think high-level players would be able to counter it quite easily. So, guys, this is not going to be an all-in Monk Fest from what I'm seeing. I think this is going to be late game. We see the market, we see the blacksmith. We see the market, we see the blacksmith. And both players are built up with pretty good economy here. So which Civ do we prefer in the late game? Oh, geez, man. I feel like 8-year-old me who would play this game on his brother's computer when his brother would say, don't play on my computer when I leave for work. I feel like 8-year-old me would be very pleased right now. Why did Dogao cancel a Vill? That makes no sense. Why cancel a Vill for 25 seconds when you can just create a villager and then not be down a Vill? That was very odd. Now he's down a villager and they're going to be up at the same time. But yeah, like Britain Longbows, one of my favorite units of all time. And then Teutonic Knights, one of my favorite units of all time. Teuton Castles with Crenellations, crazy range. Britain Archers, crazy range. I think the Britons are superior. If they go for Halb, Arbalest. I think forget Longbow because I think Longbows take too long to mass. It's a bit of a sad thing about the Longbow, but it's like Britain Archer ranges produce faster. It is so much easier to mass units out of ranges regardless than it is castles. You kind of want to use your castles for trebs. So I feel like with the amount of pressure that pro players play with, it would probably make more sense to go for Arbs. But like how Arbalest, how do you counter that with Teutons? You would probably need Siege. Also, shout out to Villese's scout that's over here in the darkness trying to find himself in nature. And Dogao is actually just randomly attacking pieces of this wall, by the way. He's done it like 6 different times. I've just noticed the blinking on the minimap. I don't know why he's attacking it. I think that's probably his way of getting there, is he, like, clicks it, and then, you know, looks back at home. There's the second, and then the third town center for Dogao. Again, cheap TCs with the Britons. And then a very defensive monastery, and we are going to see a siege workshop and a monastery on the front for Villese. So Villese is definitely going to apply some pressure here. I can only think of one game where the Teutons have beat the Britons in an arena in the past. But I really do feel like the Britons are superior. And I think Villese... I kind of want to look at Dogao's draft again. Just one quick glance before we no longer look at this. I know some people want to see the game. But I feel like he was expecting maybe Bengalis instead. I don't know. I guess Turks versus Britons also pretty tricky. I think Britons is just a really hard civ to punish on paper. But it is interesting as well, as I say all these positive things about Britons. Britons have not been dominating tournaments for a while. Britons used to be picked all the time. It feels like no one's picking them except on a closed map, so. What's the difference between Longbow and Arbalest? I have 5 HP and 1 range in my head, but likely wrong. And also +1 attack. So the Elite Longbow has 7 base attack and the Arbs have 6. But interesting thing is, if you don't get Elite Longbow and they're just regular Longbows, they have less HP than Arbalest, the same amount of attack. Doesn't feel that strong. Okay, Dogao saw this. And Dogao knows that pressure is coming. Now, the scout for Villese is going to be on the prowl. Potentially looking for kills on monks. Dogao was only able to get one of his relics, and now he falls back to a siege workshop. But, I mean, you'll take this. You're on 3 town centers versus 1. As long as you're safe here and just have, you know, 50-50 siege engagements, you should be okay here if you're Dogao. But it's a lot of pressure, and you can't really counterattack your opponent because the wall is there. So we're talking like if everything goes according to plan and that scout's going to be converted because monks are dumb. That scout's going to be converted. I can explain how I knew that. You guys want to see how I knew that? This is one of the biggest issues players have with monks right now. I know people like to complain about monks. This is one thing that I truly do think needs to be adjusted in some way. So watch this, okay? So let's go from Villese's point of view. Okay. So Villese, I just want to show this because I feel like it's important to show. Okay, so Villese starts a conversion, right? So he starts a conversion, and Dogao obviously then runs away. Okay, but Dogao thinks, I'll run away, and then when the monk's not ready, I'll go in. Right there. The monk cannot see the unit anymore. But with the way the game works with monks, for some reason, sometimes when you have no vision on the unit, the monk still knows it's there and holds its conversion. This is the only thing I want changed with monks, by the way. The only thing. In this position, Villese should not still have a conversion set and charging on that unit. It's not in the vision, right? And so Dogao goes out of the vision and feels as though, okay, I've done what I should do. And of course, the conversion was already like partially completed, and now there's 2 units for Villese. That's the perfect example of my only issue with monks at the moment. I think that, especially once you start to look at like bigger monk amounts, and create big issues with how conversions play out. So, just, opinions aside, you don't have to agree with me. That's what happened. That's why it happened. And it did happen here. I think there should have been some level of recognition from Dogao, though, because that is the way the game works. When that monk continued to walk towards him, I think he maybe should have been able to sense that. He doesn't have the blue dot over the unit, though, like we do when casting. Dogao has a 10-villager lead. He's going for only siege defense. And Villese, here on his home map, is going for redemption now on his monks. And he doesn't have to worry about Dogao having any scouts now to threaten the monks. So the monks are really strong. And Dogao's hoping to build up towards a defensive castle here. So the timing here is crucial. Dogao's done, in my opinion, he's done everything as you would expect against this type of push. The 3 TCs, the siege defense, and the timing even for the stone count's great, but it's like, where can you drop the castle and when can you drop the castle? Market also going to go down for Dogao, so he won't be able to use that in dire times. He's going to drop the castle here because he knows his opponent has redemption now. And this is a castle he needs to complete. Monk starts to convert there. And Villese backs away. Villese sees this castle's on the way. Dogao does not have loom. Dogao is going to give up this mangonel, I think, just so this castle can go up. It will just get shot down, but he doesn't really need the mangonel anymore. Ideally, he shoots it with the TC. Oh, man, really unfortunate for Dogao. Dogao's got to be like, are you kidding me? That's on 2 HP. And yeah, well, now this TC is definitely going to go down. I think this has been perfectly executed from Villese thus far. And like I said, the booming approach has not really taken place much on Zawal. Another conversion happens. Like, Zawal has been a monk and siege and all-in fest. And Dogao, I think, realizing that how strong this can be right now. His TC is going to go down. Efficiency is obviously out the window. He's going to try and use longbows now where he can, but the longbows can't even kill the monks, and Dogao clearly distracted with the TC. Villese 1 town center, but look at his farming eco. He's got great farming eco. He's on stone as well to eventually come forward with the castle. Villese has put on a clinic here with his push. He's converted scouts. He's converted siege. He's taken out the TC. He's never overextended at all. It's just calculated aggression the whole way through. Yeah, still no loom for Dogao is pretty bad, but he only lost 6 eco. What do you do now? You can't make siege. You realistically can't drop a castle anywhere that protects this TC. And if you lose this TC, your eco advantage is gone. This is sick play. And Imp is coming in for Villese as well. Holy cow, man. Pretty ridiculous stuff. We do have Loom coming in for Dogao right now. And he's also getting Bodkin Arrow. So the longbows will be able to outrange the mangonels. But that is 4 of them. And there's also monks. And Dogao's going to have like 8 longbows. There's no way. I know Dogao's micro is good. But there's no world where he can potentially stop all of this with just this amount of longbows. Not while also focusing on his eco, right? So I guess you got to take it step by step here. 1 longbow gets converted. Another longbow dies to the shot. Siege weapon pops out. That could be converted. He needs to be careful. It gets converted. The monks aren't dead. The mangonels down. The longbows are moving out. There's now 2 more mangonels firing on the longbows. You've got a villager coming in to try and repair. That's still somehow not dead. Another weak mangonel kept alive for Villese. And the scouts were distracting, and there's just so much happening, and Dogao gets smashed. And Dogao is going to be completely dead. Villese, who gated this, by the way. Thank you, DE, with the pathing. Got to appreciate the confusion there from the Vills. He's going to drop a castle there that can currently not be denied. And once this castle's up, this castle will give him opportunities to treb down this castle from Dogao in Imp. Dogao's still trying. He's still got a villager lead. He's got to go for the monks, maybe. Tries his best. Gets the kill on the monk. Good split micro. Good little micro here from Dogao. Has kept his TC alive. He will feel as though maybe there's a shot until he sees Villese has advanced to the Imperial Age. And then he's probably like, oh. Oh, boy. Because you know this is all kind of an all-in push. So you feel like you clear it all up. And then you've got longbows against the Teutons, and things could be looking pretty good. Nice micro, Dogao. Okay, things are looking better now. Good work from him. He's still going to lose longbows, though, and still has to somehow just kill all the siege. This one villager from Villese has just been healed up so many times. Dogao's actually even going to send out Vills now as part of the distraction here. Again, Dogao hasn't seen the treb yet, but Dogao is using the villagers, using the longbows. It's going to clear this up, and well played. Wow, very well played. Well, if only his castle could have come up like a minute or two earlier. If only what we've just seen would have happened a minute or two earlier. Because he doesn't know about any of this. Right? And, well, he's going to make an outpost there. To get vision. And obviously he's going to see the treb, and he's going to be like, oh, great. Well, I'm not an imp yet. I'm building these castles to defend, and everything's just going to get trebbed down. And there's no way you can take out the trebs. That's the problem. That's why this castle position's so perfect. A frustrating situation for Dogao to be in. Making it all the more important that he won the first game. I think he'll say, well, okay. I'll give that to him. It was his home map after all. And the monks then with 12 range. Now, back to the scout conversion that happened. That scout conversion is not why this snowballed to victory for Villese. I think, honestly, we just saw why going 3 TCs is so uncommon. I didn't feel as though Villese would be able to achieve as much as he did. Which I didn't even factor in just all-in-one TCing versus Britons with monks and siege. I don't know. It just doesn't feel natural on arena games. But on Zawal, when you have one wall to break through, and then instantly there's relics to gain, and instantly there's all those stones and golds, and your opponent doesn't have vision on the wall, so there's more mystery behind the push. This has been what players have been doing. 4 villagers converted. And Villese is still 20 villagers behind. And now his trebs need to be careful. This one treb doesn't want to pack up for some reason. But yeah, now that you don't have the protection of the castle, this could be an issue. I'd really like to see fletching and maybe even bodkin for Villese, so his castle benefits from that. He's trying his best to convert longbows at the moment, as he will just settle the trebbing down Dogao's TC. Dogao's still with the villager lead, but he's on one town center now. He has a whole mess of longbows, though, which is pretty strong. So if Dogao can click up, he definitely has a chance here. It's not great, but he still ended up getting 2 relics behind this. And the longbows, kind of tricky to deal with at the moment. Love the confidence from Dogao to just sit next to the castle. He's like, who cares? And he's even going to try and take the stone here. But, oh, man, the monks convert 3 longbows. There's more monks converting. There's scorpions now, 2. Oh, no. Now Bodkin arrows in on the castle, so he can't get as close. The trebs advance forward. And Villese says, this is my opportunity now for another castle. And, yeah, that castle would then mean Dogao is to sit back here. And, obviously, Dogao's not even an imp yet. This castle would definitely get trebbed down. And Villese responds. 2 very good games where it felt like the game plan from both the winners kind of worked out perfectly. Very different types of games, game number 1 and game number 2, but Villese just started it off slow, but he didn't prioritize heavy monk numbers, in all honesty. It was just 3 or 4 monks with upgrades, and I think he just expected that Dogao would just boom. Because it's so tempting for the Britons to just grab your relics and boom and plan for later. And it was just so much pressure there. If you're wondering how you counter that, I think you have to foresee that possibility and open with scouts. And if you do that, you delay your town centers a little bit, but town centers are still cheap with Britons, and having scouts on the field means that Villese then needs to add spearmen. Villese might need to just go like for even more monks and less siege, and it kind of delays the push altogether. But players don't like to add scouts on Zawal unless they're breaking through, because they feel like otherwise their scouts are useless on this side. They don't control the other relics, and you don't really have any indicators to know what your opponent's going to do. So stable opening, the safest play. Still not seeing players opt for it because they don't want to delay their economy in those cases. There it is, 17 conversions for Villese that game. And resources collected, he actually collected a little bit more, which is kind of an interesting stat because he was behind in villagers. All right, so here we are. Welcome to Lands Madness. We've got game number 3. As things stand, Villese has 6 wins, and Dogao has 5 wins in total. Obviously, one more win will go to one more player here. Would be huge for Villese to be up 2 wins over Dogao. We still don't know what's going to happen with ACCM, who's the other player in the top 3 in this group. ACCM will play Miguel later on today, but my expectations are is an ACCM win there. A 2-1 or a 3-0 I could see for him. So both Dogao and Villese will want to get as many wins to try and get that first place spot locked down. Dogao's gone for the Mongols here, which is really surprising because he had Franks available. And Franks don't have the best win rate thus far, so maybe players feel like Franks are a little too obvious. But guys, we adjusted Lands Madness after a game last week, and we made it set. There's always 2 berry bushes for each player. Before it was like, res is spread out everywhere on this map. So we tried to make things as structured as possible. And that feels like even more of a reason to pick the Franks. So he's gone for the Mongols. A civ with a hunt bonus, though. And there is hunt all over the map, but it does feel like there's more risk associated with taking hunts. And, Khmer, Villese's choice, a little bit low risk if you think about it, because it's a civ that can be out and about and then hop inside of those houses. So lots of food on the map. And I don't think we'll see Villese really care about milling additional hunt, but I think this is an approach choice from Dogao. His approach is aggression, and he will take some risks to try and take the hunt elsewhere on the map. Like this area, I could see a mill being important. This area, a mill being important. It's just very uncommon. Players don't like to have their villagers out and about because other players are going to find that. Like, let's say Dogao has a larger scout force than Villese. Let's say it's 5 scouts for Dogao and 3 for Villese. Because Villese can just hop inside houses if things get bad, I think what we're going to see is a constant approach for Villese to use that for defense and take risks going forward to try and find such hunt. It's a very good point that maybe Lancers could be good from the Mongols later on. Lancers, camels is something Mongols have. There's no Lancers, there's no camels for the Khmer. You mainly pick Khmer because of the housing thing I mentioned. And then also really cheap, really efficient farms when games get messy. Typically on Land Madness, it's scouts from both. And then it's like, do you have camels? If not, you're going knights and pikemen. So in this case, Khmer would probably think knights and pikemen. Now, if this gets to Mangadai, and you don't normally think unique units on this map, that lady is stuck inside of a boar right now. But, if it gets to Mangadai shred. I mean, they kind of give all civs problems, but I'm thinking more so just Khmer. I'm not sure what Khmer would really do against Mangadai. It would just have to be a greater economy and raiding. But fighting the Mangadai themselves would be a little tricky. Chinese was banned, Kelpit. The bans were Chinese, Aztecs, Bohemians, and Portuguese. And yeah, I think you're in agreement with me. Chinese still probably the number 1 on this. I think Chinese, I think Magyars, Khmer, Franks. Mongols wouldn't be on my list personally, but I can see it. I've just seen one too many games where it's like the hunt is gone, and then you're like, okay, my bonuses are gone. Yippee. There's probably... I think Portuguese are actually a really good shout for this. Malians could be good. I mean, Mongols aren't bad, obviously, so... This is the home map for Dogao, right? Game number 1's the neutral map. Dogao won that. We went to Vilese's home map, and now this is the home map for Dogao. But it doesn't feel out of place for Villese. The cool thing about Villese and what we just saw is he can play all maps, but against players who tend to play standard land maps, he can pick arena to get wins over them. It wasn't actually arena. Obviously, it was the wall, but, you know, just things to think about. So Villese is going to click up. The reason that they're on the same Vil count and Dogao is going to be up 30 seconds faster is because Dogao skipped Loom. So he's going to queue Loom behind Feudal Age. Pretty smart thinking, in my opinion. Villese will probably hide along the edge of the map here. He does not want to be spotted by a Mongol scout before he's in Feudal. There goes the stable. This will obviously be a scout opening, and Dogao hasn't really been in that big of a rush to scout his opponent much. Villese has pre-walled everything. So pre-walled this. You do not need to build a barracks in order to make a stable with the Khmer. You can just go right to the stable if you wish to, and that's what we'll see from Villese. But he's just thinking, as long as I'm not broken, the Mongol hunt will wear off. And once the Mongol hunt wears off, I'm in a good spot here. Villese actually just found some sheep that Dogao didn't have. And Dogao's going to want those sheep. So Dogao's going to chase that scout down. I think Villese might want to kill the sheep, but yeah, he realizes I'm just not going to be able to take them. Do you think you could stream next door set with Dave? Next door. If Dave was my neighbor, it would be a very terrifying existence. I feel like we'd be too close, you know? I like the 1,000 miles between us. No, I'm just kidding. That'd be pretty sick. Maybe our ultimate goal should be like to have like a retirement community. And it'd be like Dave and I on the same street. And we just game once we're in our 70s every day. With our awful arthritis and whatever else. Lorena would hate it. Nah, she loves Dave. We would enjoy that. The scouts from Dogao out and about, ready to get kills, but kills haven't been found. And at this point, all the hunt's been taken. Both players have walled up those wood lines. They are going to slowly chop through them, though. Things to think about. Dogao a little bit more exposed, but not too bad for him, obviously, as we just build up to more and more army. I feel like continuing to produce scouts is really important here. There is a temptation to say, oh, let's just go Castle Age. But I think that you got to fight that temptation because having 6, 7 scouts out is going to be so helpful in the long run. Like right now, guys, players are going to want to get to their golds at some stage. Like they'll need to get to gold if they want to consider an archer range, for example. And in order to safely go to your gold, actually the gold for Villese is over here. It's like his woodline spawned closer, his gold's over here. Very odd gen, in all honesty. Land madness things for you. But anyways, you need to have scouts out in the field. Dogao would have done a couple runarounds here, and he might recognize that's the situation, but he's distracted right now, and he chose to sit here and attack the house, and that is something that is normally not that big a deal because you expect players to check up on that constantly. But Villese was here. And so decent enough moment there for Villese, who's got 7 scouts right now. Well, now he's got 8, actually. And he'll be able to fight this off and head over to his gold if he needs to. That gold spot is really awkward for him, though. Dogao already on his gold, but no archer range for him. And Villese having to pull away from the berries for the time being, too, as he still thinks about more and more farms. Villagers exposed on gold. Spearman there to protect. I do want to check res collected. Res collected, that's the Mongol hunt. Still working for Dogao. I think, like, once you start to see the farms 3 tiles away from mills and TCs, that's where you start to really feel the Khmer. Because, like, right now, you know, the walking distance isn't really that crazy. Now, Dogao didn't take his berries. Berries are coming in for Villese. And gold's coming in now for Villese as well. Something Dogao will not know about. But both players have produced lots of scouts. And because Dogao went to the gold so early, through that early control, he has bloodlines coming in. And we'll have that in a moment. Meaning his scouts, only 8 of them, but his scouts will go up to 65 HP, plus the 5 spears he has. I mean, and there's no spearman at all for Villese. It's a risky game to play with the Khmer to just skip spearman altogether. I've even seen players making the stable and then opting, and this is not a fight Villese wants to take. He doesn't know Bloodlines is in. He thought it would be fine because of the numbers. He didn't sense Bloodlines was in. Really crisp play here from Dogao. But yeah, some players will go stable opening and then make the barracks later just so they have some spears. And now Villese is going to click Bloodlines, but now he's got to go for a ton of damage control, and that was a really rough fight for him. And obviously, Dogao's going to come right over here. He's like, where are you, buddy? And the villagers hop inside the house, but he just attacks the house. So Dogao is still behind in numbers, but he is ahead in upgrades. So it's kind of interesting. Numbers do play a role. 8 scouts here versus 9, though. Some of those numbers for Villese are still going forward, and they might be able to find an overchop at the wood line. Spears have come forward now for the Brazilian. And the spears being here could also have an effect. Forging being in, another villager is killed. Dogao's going to take this fight on the hill, and he'll be happy with this. And Dogao, very similar to game number 1, he seems a bit more comfortable to find the positions to take advantage of on these standard type of scout opening maps. This is really good. He's actually stopped producing, so I think he's thinking about the Castle Age right now. He feels like he's going to force a lot of reactions here from Villese, and he will. Look at the Spearmen getting hits. The Scouts here with amazing groupings. It's 12-3, 13-5 KD. And Villese is still producing more Scouts, but these fights have been brutal. You would think the farms of all places would be safe, but they're not, and the GHG is dropped. And guys, that was honestly just all positioning and timings. Dogao was able to defend with spears, and Villese was unable to. Look at the difference in the scouts produced in this game. It was the timing on Bloodlines. It was where the scouts were. We did not see Dogao at his base with his own scouts very frequently. That was a big issue for Villese. And, you know, Khmer can be punished if they're too greedy and they don't have any spearmen. Now, I don't necessarily think the issue is spearmen. I think you need the second stable to come up faster. You need to have upgrades in before Dogao. Very clean play from Dogao. So now, after this series, they are tied at the top of the group, and we will see what happens with ACCM below them. But it's a really good result for the Brazilian as he aims to get first place here. And proved me wrong. I said 2-1 Villese. There's my predictions. Doesn't happen for me as I continue to drop down further and further in the old predictions contest. But let's look at the probabilities here. Dogao looked really good on the standard land maps here. So let's see what this does to our odds for Dogao. Dogao wins that, and now they're both tied, and obviously it looks like they've got the same chances to end up wherever they may end up. But I believe right now it is going to come down to how ACCM does against Miguel, which will happen later on today. If ACCM is able to get a 2-1 or a 3-0 victory, he will either tie or pass both of those two. So still a tight race for first. And the next sets that'll be coming up will be Draken Margugu, where we have 4th place Margugu against 6th place Draken. And then 3rd place ACCM versus 5th place Miguel. A lot is going to be figured out and determined between these groups today with these sets. Villese pretty often resigns fast. I don't think that's that fast of a resign, in all honesty. Like, if you look back at it, I don't think that's that fast of a resign. There's going to be 5 scouts here or 7 scouts, actually, for Dogao. Dogao will definitely kill a few more villagers. That's guaranteed. Dogao had already killed 3, right? So let's say he kills, let's just be kind. Let's say he kills 2 more. And then from here, Villese has to recover with army. He actually was losing the scouts here at the same time. Oh, God. He lost 2 scouts here, and he lost this. He was losing this scout at the same time. So, actually, his whole forward army died. He's losing villas at home. But then he's going to be later to Castle Age, too, and I feel like Dogao would be able to close it out from there. But, yeah, I think Villese's got a pretty good idea of when he's dead. I've never felt like he resigns early. I think he's got a good view of the game. He just wasn't able to make it happen there with his Khmer pick. And Mongols, for all we said, got the job done. Looked very strong.